Well, good morning, anybody who may be listening. I haven't made any videos for quite a while. Um, I guess there's a time to speak and there's a time to refrain from speaking. And there's just so much interference, it seems to me, on YouTube these days, and there's just far too many people giving their opinions that I thought wouldn't bother to add mine, but today I think I might have a go. I've been reading Ezekiel. I read Jeremiah, and now I'm in Ezekiel, Lamentations also, of course. And I'm increasingly curious about Gog and Magog, having followed the excellent work, I think, of a YouTuber named um, Leaving Babylon. It's a young lady, her name is Madeline. And she speaks a lot of this battle of Gog and Magog, which is apparently going to be the final battle, and it could be that we are approaching it. So I became interested in, so who is God, Gog and Magog? What is meant by that? And in Ezekiel, it seems that Magog is a place and a Gog is a prince. But later we see that it's really the prince. So I suppose the battle that we're going to see is the people who are following the Prince of Darkness, albeit without recognizing that they're doing that, and the rest of the world is opposed to them and will engage with them. So the kind of the radical people, something like the American theatre at the moment, where we see just such a stark division between the Republican and the Democrat sides, and an absolute apparent impossibility to communicate. So the conceit is that we can have a rational conversation and reach rational conclusions, but rationality has left the room um, for both sides, really, because it doesn't take long to realize that you can't have a rational conversation with somebody who doesn't recognize the value of reason and rationality. It's just a conversation between deaf people. There's no point. All you're going to do is upset people. So there's just no point in having that conversation. Once you've made it clear that you follow the one true God, I mean, I think that's something that always needs to be evident. But after that, there's no point in bringing the matter up. And this has been my experience. Even in the mildest way, one thing that I like to do sometimes is just to say, well, at least read the Bible and make your own decision about these matters. And then, but even that is seen as inflammatory. I suppose perhaps because they know that the Bible might condemn them, or they fear that the Bible will condemn them. But ultimately because the Bible is representative of the Father. So this is particularly for men, for we men, I guess. If there's any women listening, I'm very pleased. But I don't know much about women, so I generally don't, try to get too involved in it. But the points apply to us all, don't they? But it's we men that are hated because we are bearing the connotations to some extent of the Father. And it's a battle that's going to be fought by God on our behalf. I think there's nothing we can actually do other than to walk in the steps of Jesus Christ and to love our enemy. as we are instructed. But it's very sad to see the path that so many people have taken. And to me, that's on both sides, really. I don't think that Trump is the savior, or the Republican Party in America. Although, of course, I am more supportive of the things that they're doing than of the other side. But it's as though the devil is enticing us into the battle where we will be defeated, because it's not for us to take up arms, and I think that's pretty clear in the Bible. So I think we just have to withdraw and watch it unfold. And I know people have been saying this for hundreds of years, particularly due to the misdeeds of people like John Darby and Schofield, whatever his name was, and the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses, who taught everybody that we were in a premillennial kingdom, and many Christians continue to believe that the millennial reign is about to occur, but it doesn't match up all that well in the Bible, I think. So everybody has to do their own research on this matter. Of course, it's quite important, but ultimately these things are in the hand of God. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, in 5 minutes, let alone in 5 years. But I do feel that we are approaching this final confrontation, and it's just inexorable. And we are to, I think, go about our business and try to be helpful and useful members of the community as far as possible during these difficult times. There's no point in getting upset and trying to convince people. They can't hear. If they're given the ability to hear, they will understand it themselves. But if they're not given that ability, how can they? It's beyond them. So that's what I was thinking this morning. Whether it's useful or not, I don't know. But it's particularly addressed to men, this, because I think, we are the accused, because we stand in the stead of the Father, actually. And they hate us for it, because they've removed from the Father. And I was listening to Bill Schnoebelen this morning. I don't know whether I can spell his surname, but it's probably Schnoebelen or something like that, if anybody hasn't heard of his stuff. His claim is that he became a Satanist and then got saved. Now, whether any of that's true or not, I can't say, but he does bring some very interesting perspectives. And he made the claim that Satanists can't reproduce, which I'd never heard before, and I haven't looked into it. But he was very confident of this, and he said this is why they need to convert other people. It's their way of propagating their seed through conversion, like in a cult. And that would explain a few things to me. I mean, it would explain why the absolute obsession with same-sex relationships, which of course are typically or always infertile and barren. And it would explain the extraordinary vehemence with which they defend their position and their lifestyle, because it's the very basis then of their existence in the world. Without affirmation, they fade and they become nothing. It's their bloodline now. Now that they've made that, they've declared their allegiance. Whether there's any route back for anybody who's in that position, I really don't know. I pray that there would be. The Lord can achieve anything that He pleases, and it might take a deus ex machina to enter the stage or something, but things can happen in life and they change our perspective. But it's not going to be you just happen to meet, a street preacher harassing you about your funny hair colour or the fact that you're dressed, in the clothes of the opposite gender. You're in your right to do what you want, and you shouldn't fear harassment. I agree with them on that. Of course not. And it's just pointless for us. We're getting drawn in, and it's something that's not in this realm. We fight not against flesh and blood. The fight is against spiritual entities, or a spiritual entity, and a very powerful spiritual entity, and the father of lies. So it is, everybody knows it, I suppose, it's a spiritual battle that we're fighting. And words don't seem to help at all in that context. And so my words presumably fall under the same condemnation. But so it is these days. It's a beautiful day here in Albion. I've been trying to sort out the garden timidly, and I think I'm going to plant a couple more trees there in that deep bed, a couple of more fruit trees, or one fruit tree perhaps. I'm going to move my climbing plant, which doesn't seem to enjoy this location. I'm paying more attention to the way that things are growing and not growing in the garden, and it's pleasant. My mother was a great gardener, and I never really took to it. My father hated the garden. He saw it as an intrusion on his cricket watching or newspaper reading or whatever he preferred to do on a weekend. And he used to mow the lawn with such ferocity, and my mother would watch him out of the window, quaking because she loved her plants far more than she loved her husband. So it is. God bless today.